headed for a disaster, difficult to foresee. It was its own human sacrifice, living together, necessary.
Well, no, I listen, I'm telling you, I know where it probably should start. And the question is whether or not, if I start there, if everybody else is going to be along for the ride. I'll tell you what, who is along for the ride, and that is Kenzo's creation. Listen, I know there's a lot of things, 3D printing is something that's very big these days. You might have something you want 3D printed, a 3D design, or then something that possibly is 3D printed and then painted. Well, let me tell you right now, the only place that you need to go is Kenzo's Creations. That's KENZOS_creation. Kenzo Creations on Instagram, and he will be able to hook you up with whatever you need 3D printed. He's done some stuff for a couple of high profile people, sports athletes. He's been featured on the news locally in Denver for his work. So listen, I'll tell you what, if there's one person that I would recommend you reaching out to if you want something 3D printed and painted, listen, this guy painted a whole mural of Eternia. You know what Eternia is? Eternia is that's the world that He-Man, Skeletor, and Rabbit. Yeah, listen, I tell you what, Kenzo decided to create all of eternity. He painted a whole mural of eternity on his wall. So we need to do, you do have, and listen, I tell you what, you can sit in this picture, you probably do all kinds of stuff, but listen, he's not going to sit there and turn it around like tomorrow, because Kenzo is probably one of the premier, if not the most premier painter that I'm connected with in terms of the action figure community. Listen, I tell you what, when he sits there and paints a whole mural of Gray Skull and Eternia on his wall, listen, who else do you want to have creating something for you? Like I said, he could 3D print it and then make it. Kenzo's Creations, KENZOS Creations, Kenzo's Creations. And like I said, shout out to Kenzo's Creations. Follow him on Instagram. He's on YouTube. Also does a couple of toy reviews and things like that. Kurt Kenobi, Sergeant Schultz in the house. Straight to you by Trojan Fire and Ice Condenser. Something like that. Yeah, straight from the land of the Lions. The Lions won. So the Lions are, the Bills play tomorrow. Lions play tomorrow. The Bills play tomorrow. Who plays today? I think, does San Francisco play today? Do they play today? Baltimore? I'm not sure. Well, I'm going to be watching it, but I know, shame on me. Listen, I used to do whole sports segments with Sean. Yeah. No, I used to do the sports with Sean segments. We haven't done those in a long time. It's been like 2 or 3 years since we did sports with Sean. You need to get Sean back in here, into the station, do some sports with Sean again. Maybe have some predictions. Well, the Super Bowl is not till what, February 11th? Well, that's when we'll eventually move into next week's the Royal Rumble. I was just talking about that a few moments ago with Dave. If you missed it, well, shame on you. You missed the segment. I was talking with Deep Cut Dave a few moments ago. Professor Deep Cut Dave, excuse me. Professor Deep Cut Dave. And one of the things that was interesting about Dave, we were talking about Sega Genesis, Sega games. Next week, we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. So make sure that you guys are all doing it. Yeah, Sir Philosopher in the chat. I see Sir Philosopher. Mixtapes is being put on pause. Mixtapes being put on pause. Tighten up, soldier, is what Casual says. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Tighten up, soldier. Tighten up, soldier. Tighten up, Sir Philosopher. Why don't you pucker yourself up and come into the station? No, I'm kidding. No. Sir Philosopher, a dad, a father, a husband. He's got, you got to juggle stuff. Eventually things happen. And you're like, oh, well, I can't do a radio show. even if it's the best radio show, to follow the best morning radio show here on Saturday mornings. Right. Is the best afternoon radio show on Saturday mornings? I don't know. It's something, but listen, Sir Philosopher is going to be back with us next week. But yeah, listen, he has to juggle stuff. Listen, responsibilities. Don't get upset because you're not juggling responsibilities on a Saturday morning and he has to. Maybe you can just start thinking about what your choices are in life, right? Sir Philosopher is like, well, listen, I can't do my local college morning radio show. Oh, because I have a family, because I have a son, I have a wife, responsibilities. So, of course, I know that everybody's upset that mixtapes is not going to be around, but have no fear. Mixtapes will be near and dear with us next week. Yes, I'm a poet. I know it. I know that I'm a poet, and I know it. I know. And yes, I know it's 11:25. It's 11:25. We started late. We went over with Dave. No, I get that. No, I get that. The guys in the back behind the glass, Sam, you don't got that much longer to talk. Blah, blah, blah." No, I understand that. But you know what I do also understand? Is I'm going to take a huge media risk. We have 3 minutes left before 11:30. 804-289 UR90. 804-289-8790. I'm going to let the phones be open for the next 30 seconds. And if someone's here and they want to sit there and chat, we'll open up the phone lines. I do have the phone lines available. 804-289 UR90. 804-289-8790. Shout out to Big M. Shout out to Sir Philosopher. Shout out to Anime Figure Statue Collector, Kurt Kenobi, Sir Philosopher. Everybody watching on social media, we are setting the standard, raising the bar at Sam Newsman all over social media. That's at Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. We have 4 video streams going all at one time. And I sit there and see people who are trying to do a podcast or a radio show, they can't even get one screen up at one time. And here we are setting the standard, raising the bar. Good grief. Shout out to Skydro Walker. Listen, this is going to be the last thing I say here before we go to the sitcom themes. Do you know that you can save 15% when you use the code SKYDRO? That's SKYDRO at extremesets.com. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what. I know I have a buddy of mine, and it's the Casual Toy Collector. You can listen to him 10:30 every single Friday. Casual Toy Collector. He went and he got some extreme sets. And you know what he did? Yeah, he used the code SKYDRO. Yeah, I tell you what, Casual Toy Collector, the Casual Toy Collector used the code SKYDRO, SKYDRO at extremesets.com. And you know what happened when he did that? He saved 15%. He did. That's right. Casual Toy Collector saved 15% when he used the code SKYDRO, SKYDRO at extremesets.com. And why did he do that? Well, because action figure photography is a big deal. It's very popular. And one of the things that you might be thinking is like, well, Sam, I can't sit there and make mountains and trees and stuff. But you know what you can do is you can go to Extreme Sets. And what does Extreme Sets do? They actually will have a bar, a warehouse, a street corner, a building, all kinds of stuff. And you can sit your action figures in front of it and make it look like that your action figures are in a real world. What is that real world? That real world is brought to you by Extreme Sets. And you know what? You get saved some money when you use the code SKYDRO, SKYDRO at extremesets.com. Your photographs might not look as good as Skydro Walker. That's at Skydro Walker on Instagram. But hell, you know what? You're going to be able to at least save 15% while trying to do so. Oh, so here it is. It is a Saturday morning. It's 11:30 here on the 20th day of January in the year 2024. I'm going to play some sitcom themes. I'm going to come back on the other side of this, talk about what we learned today. That's one to learn with. Sing a little bit of inside show infotainment. Close out the show. And then, of course, Citizen Germ wrapping it all up with his Mr. Rogers segment right before the end of the show. We might go a little bit longer. Mixtapes isn't here. Some musical theater, maybe some musical theater at the top of the hour as we're like closing out. That might be something a little bit different. Well, something a little different, but something. Hey, you know what? Maybe we should just throw a Sam's musical theater song in the mix. Start throwing in hey, this musical theater song is brought to you by Sam Newsman and Saturday Morning Radio. Throw that in the mixtape sesh. Well, I love musical theater and singing. Yeah. Well, what was that? No, I'm not gonna put, I'm not gonna put taps on my Jordans. Not gonna put taps on my Jordans. Although if I did put taps on my Jordans, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you saw a tap dancing singing puppet with Jordans. You know what? The internet would just completely blow up. It would. It would. But I'm not gonna do that. Why? Because you got to check the weather a little bit later too, and you got to know where you're going when you use your GPS. Broadcasting live from the beautiful campus here on the University of Richmond. It is 11:33 here on the 20th day of January in the year 2023. Follow me at Sam Newsman all over social media, and you'll be able to see me. Shout out to a couple of people that just showed up. I have the transmission X. Maybe you know what? Maybe the phone lines will come up. The phone line. Maybe the phone lines will have some kind of frequency open here in the next few moments during maybe we can tap into this transmission X. I don't know. We might be able to. Go figure, go as well. Follow everybody on YouTube. Shout out to everybody. DFS Big M, Casual Toy Collector, everybody all over social media who is following. Remember, at Sam Newsman is where you can find me, setting the standard, raising the bar, the only way a real media puppet knows how to do. We'll be back on the other side of this break, this sitcom break, here and talk about what, and that's one to learn with. I keep wanting to say what we learned today. No, that's one to learn with here on the only radio show dedicated to the magic and nostalgia of Saturday morning, hosted by me, a real media puppet from the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell. I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Saturday morning.